Did you know that there are people out here who still think that living frugally means you're not living life to the fullest, or that the best things in life are passing you by simply because you're trying to spend less money? Maybe you're one of those people who aren't convinced that you can still enjoy your life even on a budget. And maybe that way of thinking is keeping you from reaching your financial goals. I'm Joy of Frugal Creative Living, and in this video, I'm going to deal with some of these common misconceptions head on. And the thing is that even some frugal people have these misconceptions. Hopefully this video is going to help you shift your mindset a bit, or maybe just strengthen your resolve to keep going. Frugal living means being cheap. Now, I once was cheap. I was very cheap growing up, but I am cheap no more. I am now frugal. And frugal living is about being intentional with your money. It's not just trying not to spend any money. It's about choosing where you spend, but also making sure it's worth it when you spend. And cheap people aren't looking for quality, but frugal people want things of high quality, but at the lowest price. And that's what makes the best value. It's all about value, not cheapness. Frugal people don't have any fun now. Come on now. We frugal people know how to have a good time, whether it's hosting a game night or exploring free events or just getting outdoors. We just get creative with our fun. And sometimes you might find that you have to redefine what fun is for you if your financial well-being is a priority, and just get used to the idea that spending a lot of money is not a requirement of having a good time. You can't eat out. Now, of course, this is not true, because being frugal doesn't mean that you have to be locked into your kitchen 24/7. It's about moderation and finding those good deals. Now, a treat here and there can still fit into a frugal budget. If you are somebody who tends to go overboard with your eating out, and every month you see that you're spending money that could be getting used in a more productive way, then you probably need to cut back significantly. But that doesn't mean that you have to cut it out altogether. Sometimes it's not about having to remove the whole activity. You just need to reduce it. Don't remove, just reduce. It's only for people who need to be frugal. Now, actually, frugality is for anyone who wants their money to go further and do more, regardless of your income. Because even millionaires can be frugal. And that's because saving and growing wealth is not limited to any one group. Yes, people with low incomes need to have their money do more, but wealthy people want their money to do more. So the same principles of resourcefulness and prudence can be applied to both. But please remember this: frugality is always a choice. There are people with extremely low incomes that will still let their electricity get turned off so they can buy a $300 pair of boots. They need to be frugal, true, but it doesn't mean that they will be. And then you can have someone with all the resources in the world who may choose frugality because they know that nothing they have is promised to them, and it could all go away if they don't make wise choices with their finances. Frugality is a choice, and it's a choice that anyone can make. Frugality and minimalism are the same thing. Not quite. Minimalism is about living with less, while frugality is about making the most of what you have. So for instance, I make the most of what I have, but I also have a lot of stuff. People give me things all the time, and I keep them, I repurpose them. I always feel like there's something I can do with what I have or what I receive. Now, if I were a minimalist, I'd probably turn around and give that stuff away, or maybe tell people not to give me things in the first place. So yes, they can kind of go hand in hand, but one doesn't automatically equal the other. Minimalism is about reducing your possessions to focus on what truly matters, while frugality is about maximizing the value of your resources to focus on what truly matters. DIY all day, every day. Now listen, I love a good DIY project, but being frugal doesn't mean that you have to make everything from scratch. It's just about knowing when to DIY and when to buy something or pay someone else that's going to save some time, or that can offer a better value than what you can do yourself. If you have more time than money, then a DIY project might be just the ticket, but it's not always the way to go. Frugality means you're missing out or you're deprived. Now, this is not true in my life. Frugal living is about focusing on what really matters, but it's about what really matters to you. It's saying no to things that, when you really stop and think about it, don't serve you in the best ways. so you can say yes to things that do. And it's all about your own priorities. If you evaluate your life and the choices that you're making and everything is lining up and fulfilling and you got peace of mind and your financial picture is on point, then there's no reason to do anything differently. But if you evaluate your life and you realize that some of your activities and your involvements are interfering with your ability to do and have the things that are more important, then you get to decide whether you continue on that path or you make some changes. And the kinds of changes and the levels of those changes are all up to you. There's no deprivation necessary. Okay, so let me say this. Coupons are great, but they are not an essential part of being frugal. And many of us just shop smart. We plan our meals, we buy in bulk, and you don't have to sit and cut out coupons all day. But if you have the time and you're finding that you still need to save more money, then you get to clipping those coupons. Or you can load the digital coupons onto your store's apps. And y'all know I'm always telling you about that. Frugality is time consuming. Now, I'm going to be honest about this. There is a lot of planning that has to happen at the beginning of a transition into frugal living, but it's kind of like learning how to cook or clean your house. Once you've got a process and some practice, you get used to it and it starts to become second nature and becomes just a part of how you do life without taking a whole lot of extra time. It is not all about reducing expenses. Frugal living is about smart spending, and you only need to reduce expenses if the money you make isn't enough to do the things that are important to you. And to that, it's also about finding ways to increase your income or invest your money so that your money is doing some of the work for you. Frugality only works short term. Now, you can tell that to all the people who have been living frugally for their entire life. Many people live frugally for years. Frugality becomes a lifestyle that actually adds value to your life long term. You definitely don't have to buy everything used. The primary purpose of buying used is to find the best value on a particular item. So again, you want to look for high quality at the lowest price. So sometimes that means shopping at a thrift store or a flea market to find a good sturdy wooden dresser that would have cost you $400 new and then getting it for $25 used. Again, you're looking for value, whether it's new or used. Frugal people don't travel. Now, I personally don't know any frugal people that don't travel. I mean, we just do it in savvy and creative ways. We budget, we save, we use rewards and points, we plan ahead and find the cheapest seasons, days, and times to travel. We find budget-friendly destinations. We find people to split costs with. Frugal people get it done and feel good doing it. Frugality isn't family friendly. Now, I have a family, and when you have children that are always asking for things and you don't want to spend the money on what they're asking for, it can make it harder, but it is far from impossible. Actually, families can be super frugal together, whether it's from meal planning to fun, low-cost family outings. It's all about a team effort. And if everybody in the family has some understanding about how you're functioning financially, and everyone has some input into the things that you do as a family, and mom and dad know how to say no when necessary, it's completely doable. Frugality means no quality. Well, when I was cheap, I didn't care about quality. But when I graduated to being frugal, I started to realize that cheap just wasn't worth the little bit of money I was even spending on the cheap stuff because it wasn't lasting. So in reality, I think frugal people actually are more picky with quality because we want to spend our money on something that's going to last. And we'd rather pay once for something durable than to have to replace a cheaper version over and over and over again, because that's a waste of money and goes completely against the whole meaning and idea of being frugal. Now, it depends on what it is. There are some times where I don't mind buying the cheap version of something to see if it's any good, because you don't always know. It might serve your purpose and then you saved yourself some money. And like for me, I don't mind buying a pair of sneakers from Walmart. I have never been into big name brand sneakers like that. And my feet and my ankles feel fine. And the ones I've purchased, I've had for years and they haven't fallen apart. They're dirty as all get up, but they are still in decent condition. If the cheap, whatever it is, doesn't serve the purpose, then don't keep buying the cheap version. Investigate and buy something that's going to last. Frugal people don't have a social life. Now, frugal people aren't any less social than anyone else. You just have to plan your social activities wisely. If you want to host a dinner, make it a potluck so that you don't have to foot the bill for all of the food. You can gather friends together and go on hikes. You can go sightseeing or to a myriad of free events. There's no need to drop $100 every time you want to hang out with friends, because I know for me, the hanging out with the friends is the fun part. Frugal people have to shop at dollar stores. Let me tell you something. I love shopping at a dollar store. For me, it's just fun. But frugal people can shop wherever there's a value. See, we keep coming back to that word value. And that could be at a dollar store, or it could be at a local farmer's market. It could be Facebook Marketplace. It could be at Macy's Backstage. I go wherever there's consistently low prices or really good deals. Frugal people hoard supplies or are hoarders. In fact, frugality is about using what you have effectively, not stockpiling things that you don't need. Now, one of the expressions of my frugality is that I like to do repurposing projects all the time. So I do keep certain supplies on hand, but I have learned what things to keep and what not to keep to meet my ongoing repurposing needs. And one of the things that I think is a great part of frugal living and a frugal mindset is the ability to give to others. And therefore, I don't mind giving things away when I have no further use for them. So really, a hoarder is a hoarder, whether they're frugal or not. Frugality is for the older crowd. Now, I think a lot of times we find older generations living frugally because they've had years to learn some things and the wisdom has kicked in. Many of them also grew up in a time where if you didn't live frugally, you weren't going to survive, and they just carried the lifestyle with them. But now a lot of younger people are embracing frugality as well, especially as they look for ways to prioritize what matters, like experiences, health, and financial freedom now and in the future. And finally, frugality is boring. Oh, if you only knew. For me, frugality is what inspires my creativity, and then my creativity just supports my frugality. Bottom line is none of it is boring. I often shop by what's on sale, which means I end up trying new foods and new brands. And when I'm looking for inexpensive travel, sometimes that means I end up experiencing new places and having small adventures because I'm looking for the cheapest ways to get around. My husband and I, when we went to Mexico, we took the public transportation instead of the taxi cars because it was cheaper. And anybody who's ever been to Mexico, I don't know, but that was an experience. We just make the most of what we have, and it really can be a lot of fun. I hope I was able to shed a little bit of light on some of the misconceptions about frugal living and maybe inspire you to go for it with a little bit more gusto. And if this was valuable to you in any way, please give it a thumbs up, share it with someone else that might find it useful, and don't forget to subscribe for more tips on frugal living, and I will see you next time. Bye.